Hello and welcome to this week's Out of Cast, your program completely in English to improve your knowledge about cinema. I'm Helio the Bluehead today with my friend and colleague.
Guten Morgen, ich bin Giulio Buschini. Good morning, I'm Giulio.
So, as everyone recall, we talked about Stanley Kubrick for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that was heavy stuff.
Well, actually, we talked about Marvel Cinematic Universe for 3 episodes, if you recall.
Yeah, but you know, it's
That's
Marvel, then it's Stanley Kubrick, so you know it's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But not again for the next two. For this week and the next one, we're gonna talk about comic book stuff again, but movies and animation stuff that are based on comic books, but not based on DC or Marvel. So we are talking about the ones on smaller scale.
Yeah, some. There are even some comic book based movies that almost nobody knows that they actually are from comic books.
Yes, exactly. But before starting all of this discussion, let's head to our socials.
We could, yeah. You could find us on Facebook by writing Roma Tre Radio with the 3 as letters, as well as Instagram and Twitter. And if you want, or if you are already doing it, you can follow us streaming via the website radio.uniromatree.it or via the app TuneIn, which we have it here on the radio, actually. Yes, it works. It works.
Which is really quite an interesting app. I've got it.
Yes, actually. Okay, so before we start, should we say something?
Yeah, but let's get yourself a cup of tea. We have also a very awesome guest with us here. She's not right now here, but we'll get to her later. But prepare yourself a cup of tea and we'll get you very soon. So, as it was obvious, this has been the trailer for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, coming out in 2010. Now, it is based on the comic book by Brian Lee O'Malley. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a 2010 movie directed by Edgar Wright. Set in Toronto, Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera, is a young bass player who falls in love with Ramona Flowers, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. During their time together, though, he soon finds out that he must beat out Ramona's 7 evil ex-boyfriends. They formed an alliance which is called the League of the 7 Evil Exes. Now, with the objective to kill Scott, oh my god, that's so harsh, and then take Ramona back. Now, will Scott manage to defeat all of them and finally have his dream come true or not?
Now, if you don't want to watch this movie after you listen to the trailer and read the the plot, you're a bad person. It's a very funny movie.
It's a very good movie.
Yeah. Edgar Wright previously directed his masterpiece Shaun of the Dead, and his rapid montage style is reprised here, but enhanced with colorful graphic effects. Since the story is based on a comic book and has a video game-like structure, every evil X is like a level, the editing makes a unique visual style that resembles pretty much a comic book, with balloons, writing, and occasionally written narration. Contrary to most movies that are set in specific locations but shot in others, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was actually shot in Toronto, for Edgar Wright's will. The comic book is super specific with Toronto's details and set, and the production then used the same ones. The movie, however, didn't go well on the box office. It grossed $47.7 million against a budget of $90 million.
Wow, that's a flop.
It's a flop, but because it didn't have much publicity. I didn't see posters anywhere.
What, really?
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's such a good movie. Such a shame.
But thankfully, it met the praise of critics who appreciated its visual style and sense of humor, becoming, in time, a cult.
Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has 81% and managed to win an Empire Award for Best Director to Edgar Wright, as well as 2 Satellite Awards, an SFX Award, and a San Diego Film Critic Society Award. And we're back again, and I'm with Eleonora here.
Hello.
And we're gonna talk about BIRDBOY, The Forgotten Children, that came out in 2015.
Also called Psiconautas Los Niños Olvidados.
Thank you very much.
Hola, me llamo Pablito.
Now, the movie is based on Alberto Vasquez's graphic novel of the same name. The story can be described, no spoilers, don't worry, as a post-apocalyptic metaphor for a coming-out-of-age horror drama combining cute design to the cruelness of the real world we live in. However, it's still a fantasy world full of interior demons who can actually come to life, and where industrial capitalism has killed any chance of a better life. Now, anyhow,
this movie isn't the first animated installment on the Psiconautas world, let's say. First, there was a Goya-winning award short called BIRDBOY, which gave enough will to Vasquez himself to try to make an animated feature. Well, unfortunately, as most of you know, artistic adult animation doesn't really pay outside of Japan, probably.
unfortunately.
Totally. And, well, I know it's depressing to say, but that's totally the truth. And that's why Psiconautas doesn't make even an exception, because the entire project... Aiuto!
So it happens. It's live show.
Yeah.
Stuff happen.
TFS tried to kill me. So I was trying to say that the movie started with a big budget of 1 million euros, but in the end, worldwide speaking, it got $50,000 in the end.
That's tragic.
Nothing.
That's tragic for such a beautiful work.
You buy a small house with $50,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So Psiconautas, besides all of this, has been granted over the years of several awards, among which Cinanima Film Festival Award for Best Feature Film, a Goya Award for Best Animated Film, Satellite Award nominee, and Rotten Tomatoes.
It
you
has
want to talk about Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, I'm good with numbers, so I'm gonna go
Rotten
with
Tomatoes
Rotten.
time.
It has got 94% on the critics side, but on the audience score, it has got only 75%. No, sorry, 75%.
I lost myself. I tried my best.
Yeah, it's the same.
Sorry.
Now, let's talk about Red Hulk.
Yeah, everybody believe that.
No, just kidding. We want to talk about a pretty funny and interesting character. A boy from hell, you guessed it, is Hellboy. Now, it is in the first two good ones, let's put it that way.
Please.
It is portrayed by charismatic Ron Perlman, but first we have to know where the character came from, which is the character actually was created by Mike Mignola, published by Dark Horse Comics.
The first movie adaptation came in 2004 and the second one in 2008, going by the name of Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. Both movies were directed by the amazing mastermind of Monsters and Nightmares. I would call a band of Monsters and Nightmares, Guillermo del Toro. His creativity shapes these two movies beautifully and hauntingly mesmerizing. The gory design of the monsters and the creatures will startle you. Creatures of monsters and creature will startle you. Also considering the fact that they're mostly practically handmade. So the hair makeup team has done a great job. That's why they were nominated for an Oscar. Of course, the story is simple and follows the origin story of the titular character and his adventures. In the first movie,
the first movie has got 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, then the second one got 86%, and also don't forget again that they're directed by very talented Guillermo del Toro. But talking about the latest installment, though, is pretty hard.
Must we?
No, I'm gonna skip it, just put it this way, that is kind of bad, and I'm sorry to say this. I mean, where should we begin? It's got 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. The script is a mess. The only good thing about it is that Davey Harbour plays the titular role.
Poor David.
So what you heard was the trailer for Kick-Ass. Now, the first one came in 2010, And it's an action comedy directed by Matthew Vaughn, who recently directed the Kingsman movies.
Yeah,
You might be familiar with them.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if Matthew Vaughn will also direct the prequel. There is a prequel of Kingsman
I
coming.
don't know. But the whole thing is based on comic book by the same name by Mark Millar and John Romita Jr. It's basically a superhero parody set in an ordinary world without superheroes with superpowers. Our main character is Dave
Lezinski.
Lezinski, yeah. Played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, a nerd high schooler tired of being bullied and wondering why nobody takes action against violence upon the weakest. After ordering a scuba diving, suit online with a pair of batons, he becomes Kick-Ass, a hero without superpowers, but he soon finds out that the criminality is ruled by Frank D'Amico, played by Mark Strong, and a dad and his daughter, played by Nicolas Cage and Chloe Grace Moretz, are actually the two vigilantes on a more violent way to kill D'Amico.
Yes, you've heard it right. There is Nicolas Cage in this movie, and it isn't actually that bad.
Yeah, exactly. It was the exact thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad actually. Kick-Ass can be considered an exploitation movie since it reprises the visceral violence seen in the comic books. Although the movie was rated PG, parental guidance, it wasn't as violent as the comic book, because let me say that the comic book is very more violent. But it drew controversies anyway, especially for the character of Hit Girl, the character played by Gray Moretz, who some saw it as a glorification of physical and verbal violence, also being played by a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Oh my god! The movie grossed a total of $96 million at the box office, and it was listed as the second most illegally downloaded movie of 2010. The first one was Avatar, and I can tell you why. Because in Italy, the movie didn't came out until 2 years later.
What? That's insane.
Kick-Ass in Italy came out in late 2011, because there was no distribution in Italy. And I was one of the one who saw it illegally. I am proud of it.
Okay, he's confessing his sins, everyone. Now, it has also got 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is quite good. Now, let's jump right into 2013 with Kick-Ass 2. Now, it took almost 3 years to the Kick-Ass sequel to come out, but it's not directed again by Matthew Vaughn. This time, he was co-producer, but directed by Jeff Wadlow. The story focuses on the struggle of Mandy, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, on having an ordinary high school life and leave behind the costume of Hit Girl, and Dave, played by, again, Aaron Taylor Johnson, are keeping his secret life as Kick-Ass, while the son of Frank D'Amico, Chris, played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Mintz-Plasse, maybe?
seeks revenge for his father by setting up a group of criminals, and oh boy, you gotta see that group of criminals.
And we better not tell his villain name here on radio. We better not say it. We cannot say it.
Yeah, and he wants to. I mean, it's obvious that he wants to kill those two heroes.
Kick-Ass 2 was shot both in Canada and Britain and distributed by Universal Studios. Most of the former cast returned to their roles, plus some newcomers like Jim Carrey as Colonel Stars and Stripes, with his dog named Eisenhower. Okay. Yeah. The movie did not go well. It grossed a total of $60 million.
That's really unfortunate, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. 1/3 less than the first chapter. Critically, it got pretty much negative reviews.
Yeah.
The change of director shows the lack of style and cure for the former, in respect than the former movie. Kick-Ass 2 fails in repeating the right mix of ultra-violence and the iconic humor of the previous one, failing in attempt to make an even more exploiting movie but without a soul. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a 33%.
Which is really unfortunate, because I guess it's a bad movie that you like. It's a...
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure.
Exactly, that's what it is.
There were some scenes that I enjoyed actually.
Exactly, I kind of liked the
Yeah,
movie.
some scenes weren't that bad actually, but I have to watch it again years later, so I don't remember the whole movie. But I agree that that there is something missing from the previous one. I have to watch it again. I have to watch it again.
Probably. Same.
There was
So-
the scene where Chloe Moretz seeks revenge from their schoolmates, those girls who were
Oh,
bullying
yeah.
them.
Why? Okay, we are gonna talk about that favorite block of ours, which we didn't have that block in the last 2 weeks because of obviously Stanley Kubrick doesn't have a trash movie. And yes, it's time for a trash talk of the week.
Okay,
So we're gonna talk about because this is really funny. We're gonna talk about Zora La Vampira, which came in 2000.
2000, yes.
So it's a story that follows the Count Dracula in the year 2000 and that decides to leave Transylvania to drink some fresh blood and go to Italy.
Of course, where would you want to find fresh blood if not in Italy?
A country he thinks to know well from having seen Italian cabaret shows on television. Basically, he becomes an illegal immigrant. Yeah, that's the plot.
Starring famous actress Michaela Ramazzotti as Zora. Yes, you've heard it right. Michaela Ramazzotti.
Is she related to Eros Ramazzotti, the famous singer?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No, seriously, it's a I have this doubt as well now. Tony Bertoletti, who played in the Young Pope as Dracula, Carlo Verdone as Captain Lombardi, Alessia Barella, who played in Una Mamma Imperfetta, plays a drag-head prophetess. Oh my god.
What? I just don't know.
Punk rock musician Chef Ragu. Who? Doctor Who? No, I'm
Doctor
joking.
Who?
I'm joking. And even porn actress Celine. Yeah, she is in the movie.
Yeah.
Great. Directed and written by Antonio and Marco Manetti, better known as the Manetti Bros. The movie is loosely inspired on a 70s erotic comic book movie series. Of course, we have also to talk about a movie based on porn comic books movie. We have to. Which is, you guessed it, she is Zora La Vampira. The porn actress is Zora La Vampira.
No, the porn actress is not Zora. She has another role.
She is not the Zora La Vampira.
No.
The
Go ahead.
The plot, however, is pretty different from the comics. Here, she's a millennial writer who falls in love with Romanian immigrant Dracula. Okay.
Okay.
Manetti Bros managed to make a not great, not bad, but still an interesting, trashy movie.
It's trash, okay?
Yeah, it's trash. Even if, according to them, they had a big-ass budget and
etc.,
etc.
So it turned out to be a mistake making this movie. Now, Zora La Vampira isn't just horror, it's just comedy, and a bad one. It has social commentary thrown here and there, a surreal mood that doesn't quite fit inside the specific genre. I mean, we could almost say that Zora is more a parody full of random references showing it's a true mess that drags the audience into the poor side of Rome, describing a grey humanity where the role of the monster and the hunter are controversial. I don't know where this is leading to. I'm not saying that it's good, but it's awesomely trash.
Awesomely trash, I liked it.
It was my change.
Oh, good.
Yes!
Awesomely trash.
I'm a good writer!
Take this, Buffett!
I trash everything! No, not everything.
This fucking auto-tune.
Oh, boy. Now, unfortunately, everyone, we gotta go.
Oh boy.
I mean, this has been a roller coaster.
And it ain't over yet.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be with you again next week, again talking about movies and animations based on comic book movies, not the DC and Marvel ones. Of course, we're talking about the ones that get less attention, let's say.
There are a couple of titles that have come to mind now that we could talk about, actually. Yeah, I will tell you after. Now, we surely had a lot of fun today.
Yep.
But this was our episode, but before we go, we have to tell where they can find us on the web.
Yeah, exactly. Go on.
Go on, you can do it. You can find us on Facebook by typing Roma Tre Radio with the 3 as letter, as well as Twitter. We made a story earlier. We posted it on our Instagram. You can watch it on Roma Tre Radio with the 3 as number.
It's a very serious story on Instagram. It's in black and white, so dramatic. I have this serious face.
But don't spoil the surprise. You can listen to us anyway on our website radio.uniromatri.it or via the application TuneIn Radio by typing Roma Tre Radio with the 3 as number.
So, thanks to all our writers. Again, all 4 of us write. Thanks to Said, Eleonora, you, Julio.
You, Helia.
No, this week I didn't write, to be perfectly honest, because I was working on my thesis. So
Yeah, it's the time. It's the time of the university. So
yeah, it's that time.
you didn't watch Young Frankenstein, the movie parody we talked about last week with Eleonora.
No.
Okay, Young Frankenstein. It's a Frankenstein parody, and based on the legend of Frankenstein. There was a scene in which they recreate a Frankenstein, but with a stupid brain.
Oh,
and
boy.
When the creature wakes up, is. So everyone who is about to graduate on the university is like that Frankenstein in the movie.
That's a great expression, thank you. Because I can really relate to that.
I was like that too. Don't worry.
And also thanks to our directors, Valentino and Lorenzo. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, such a pleasure. Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the flip side.
Bye.